It's one of those ones I really wish I didn't have to do. What happened when the moon? How'd the moon get here? Did it crash into the Earth? What started life? They know. Someone knows. They're just lying to you. It's not that hard. Think about it. When you're driving and you stick your hand out the window, yeah, right? A lot of wind. You're driving like, I don't know, very slow. Regular plane through the wind, right? Hits like 120 to 300 degrees Celsius. You can boil water 2-3 times. So understand that like if a car-sized like meteor will get burnt up in the atmosphere, what do you think's gonna happen when the moon starts making its way over here? You think it's just gonna hit it? Understand the moon itself is massive enough that it moves the ocean. The ocean that's like made out of water, which is like 998 kilograms a cubic meter, relative to like 1.25 kilograms a cubic meter, but that's air at sea level. So understand that as it's approaching the Earth, it's not just pulling the ocean. It's literally it's bringing the atmosphere toward it. If you consider that it's like, what, 400 million meters away on average, somewhere between that and like 360, you cut that in half, that is inverse square law. It's going to be it's going to have all of this just air beating at it. It's literally going to suck the air in toward it, the atmosphere, and then it's going to continue moving in toward the Earth. It's going to be the most ridiculous bow shock you ever saw in your life. It's not just how fast the object's going, it's how wide it is. Understand the radius of the moon is well over like 1,000 meters or so. Over 1,000 meters or a million. I don't remember. It's very wide. Understand, like, it's also has to do with how smooth the object is. It's gonna cup air, right? And it's gonna have to basically the air particle has to go up, has to cut around. You know, I make a little drawing somewhere. See that there? I made a little drawing for you guys. This is 2-dimensional. But imagine, right? It's got to go. It hits up here, right? And it has to go around, and it's crashing into the other air particles. Basically, the air doesn't get to go anywhere, right? So it's basically just taking all this air and it's just crushing it into this really ridiculously small, very compact. Well, if that equation, sticks up for this air, which it does, PV equals MRT, it's going to get hot, very hot, and it's not going to stop getting hot. It's just going to keep getting as hot as it wants to get until it eventually starts to slow down and stop. Or likely, it's going to make its way all the way down to the ocean, or it's just going to fill the atmosphere with plasma. Regardless, this plasma is hot, and it's not going anywhere. Not until basically you make equilibrium, at which point, right, it's going to start to expand now because of the PV equals MRT. So now imagine this, right? What happens when it meets the ocean? The ocean, which is bulged up to meet it. Well, the ocean is an incompressible fluid. If you've ever seen like a little tectonic plate send water at like 500 miles an hour, understand if the air can't get out of the way, that ocean's not getting out of the way. And so then now you just squeeze it a little bit more. And then eventually you get to a point where this air is just like, to hell with this moon, right? And it stops it. And then once it stops it and that momentum's done, now it's going to just sit there heating up the ocean, and then it's going to start to expand back upward. As it starts to expand back upward, right, it's going to do more, right? This is the PV equals MRT still. Now the ocean right here, which is still getting hot, right? It's getting thermal transfer, right, from the ocean, so it's going to start to evaporate. Oh, also, that electricity that you keep seeing, we're like, well, you need to have electricity. You need to have heat. You need to have pressure. We think the moon crashed into the Earth. Like, dude, they're lying to you. Why are they lying to me, Anthony? Why does anyone lie to you? And why does the sales guy not tell you everything? Understand, somebody goes all the way up to the moon, and then they come back and you see a press conference like he did where the guy just looks like he lost his soul. Like, he got talked to, right? Like, yeah, that's a rough situation. But understand, if you look up, once you see the situation, you're not going to go, well, I guess that's done there. No, you're going to look into it just a little bit more. You'll be like, well, if all this hot plasma, positive, negative charges, hits the ocean, and the ocean moves, that sounds like electrolysis. That's the electricity we needed. What's going to happen then as the moon starts to move back upward? Well, I guess it's going to leave some of that stuff behind, as the gas expands. What's it going to leave behind? It's going to leave behind like 4 electrons. Oh, that's like perfect, considering you have 2 H2O and then O negative 2. That's O negative 2. Well, I've never looked. I'm not even, I'd consider myself like maybe 10% out of the 80-20 in chemistry. And I was like, let me look at something real quick. And then I saw the positive 4, the positive 2, blank, negative 4. And I was like, I think that's where the oxygen goes in our carbon life. Look at that. If you look at like how a neuron fires, right? It uses like sodium, potassium, calcium, and the other one or whatever. You look at it, you're like, oh, that's exactly the amount of electrons that you would need to fill it up. That can't be coincidence that that fits like perfectly. And then all of a sudden now you're like some regular guy who understands how life started on Earth, and everybody else, like Harvard and these colleges with this brick and mortar nonsense, just brainwashing people, lying. When you see a YouTube video on education that won't allow comments, you know it's nonsense. Get the hell out of there, right? Like if they have education and you can't comment on it, that's because they don't want you to know anything. They don't want you to learn. Get the hell away, right? If you're talking to a professor and you're telling him something that's logical and intuitive, and they're just like giving you like the dude, get out. Understand, like the professors that you see here on YouTube that are like, wow, these guys are awesome. Understand, like this wasn't their first choice. It's just because YouTube is actually great for educators, and the brick and mortar building, they can't compete. The business model is just not good, right? Like, what are you gonna do? Retrain all your teachers, renovate all your classrooms, and then what? Like, you're gonna compete with the internet? No, like it's done. It's been done. They've been lying to you. They literally will pay people to get patents done just so they can advertise them. As if a patent has any sort of relevance, right? It's basically the equivalent of like a failed lab report. It's just you and a lawyer. He asks you questions, you answer them. That's all it is. He just basically goes, all right, you didn't break this law. You're not breaking this law. You're not breaking this law. Okay, good, nice deal. And you hand him like 10 grand. So that way you can patent something no one will ever give a damn about. So just please, if you're considering going to school, consider anything else. I promise you, like I was gonna get 2 PhDs. One because I was an engineer and I was like, oh, I should get one lucrative, and the other because I was like, I'm interested in like space and random stuff, and I just wanted to get into physics. And then I was like, you know what? Considered who I would be. Like, I was like, I definitely would have the degrees, but then if I ran into myself now, I would be so afraid if someone would like to ask me a question past Anthony sitting here, or the Anthony who didn't get a degree. And I was like, damn, I don't want to have a degree and no utility. And so I had to make the right decision. I hope you do too. Don't go to school. It's a waste of your damn time. Einstein got a bachelor's and that was it. Elon Musk, all he has is a bachelor's, right? I didn't get anything else, and I'm smarter than I would have ever been if I would have went to school. I would have had a degree. People would have looked up to me, and it would have been false. So stay the hell out of those brick and mortar buildings. What else is there to teach?